Hello, and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers. I'm your host, Dorothy Odell. I'm also the founder and owner of Unstoppable Overcomers Productions, where we're a full service media agency. Go check us out at www.unstoppableovercomers.com today and check out our website, and also go to our YouTube channel, Unstoppable Overcomers. Don't know why I can't say that tonight. Anyways, I have the distinct pleasure of bringing our guest, Lena. Welcome to the show. How do you pronounce your last name, Lena? I meant to ask you that before we started.
Thank you so much. It's Cebula.
Okay, so I was right. I was going to say that. Cebula, I love that. Welcome. And how are you this evening?
Good. And by the way, if you guys think it, I know. It means onion on 50 languages. It's okay.
I love that. I did not know that, but thank you. I learned something new today. So, Lena, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into your overcoming story.
Absolutely. Well, today I'm a wife and the mother of 3 beautiful children, and I'm the author of the spiritual autobiography called Miraculous: My Journey from Hell to Heaven. And I recently got certified as a Christian leadership life coach. So it was very interesting story how God used my life, because I was a hairstylist for 16 years and he's totally pivoted me. Right before COVID, I closed my business. I published my book. I started speaking and sharing my story. And by the way, the story that you hear today, I actually didn't talk about this for 20 years.
Wow, that is incredible. See, God's always looking out for us. we kind of said that in the green room before we started. So share with us your journey from what was the name of your book, from heaven to or hell to yeah. So tell us a little bit about your overcoming story.
Absolutely. First of all, Dorothy, I would never have imagined that after 20 years of silence, I would be standing on stage in front of hundreds of people and that my story would be broadcasted all over social media. Because in the past, I believe that it's story of guilt, shame, and condemnation. But now I know it's God's story of salvation. So a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in USSR, but resided in Ukraine. And my parents struggled in their marriage. They became an alcoholics, lost their well-paid jobs. And at our home, the government turned off the electricity and hot water for outstanding bills. And I was hungry all the time. I was literally starving. And our home was infested with cockroaches, black mold, and mice. And we really struggled in poverty trying to survive. So I was raised in a home full of strangers who brought booze and drugs, but it was the opportunity for me to eat. So I was hanging out, thinking that I can score something. And that's how I end up being a target for those guys from very early age. And the government didn't protect me. My parents didn't protect me. So I've been abused and raped in the basement of my apartment numerous times. So honestly, I thought things couldn't get any worse. But one morning, 1 month before my 15th birthday, I woke up in severe abdominal pain. I went to emergency and I ended up hearing from the doctor that I'm in labor. And it's like I was shocked, confused, and terrified because I didn't know I was pregnant. I didn't know who her father was. So I knew that my lifestyle will definitely have some complications, and for her health. And my baby girl died 3 months later.
Oh my
I
gosh.
carried this little casket to the cemetery in my arms. And for the next 20 years, that image has plagued my mind and my soul. And I already suffer with anxiety, panic attack, and depression. And the grief actually brought another level of pain. Like I start having like heart pain. Like, and it's interesting. Like it was like another level of brokenness, and I thought like you couldn't go any further. But I was thinking about this just recently. There was no adult partner up with me and support me. Like, for example, I end up in the hospital with broken bones, concussions, and drug and alcohol abuse, like overdosing on stuff. And then this baby was born. I was like 14. There was no grief counseling, there was no drug addiction counseling. And I do understand the country at that time was going through discord of falling apart because Ukraine claimed the independence. And there was like lots of stuff like was happening in my country, but it was so bizarre that this kid actually go through this and nobody cares. And that's become like humongous like trauma over the years for me, and I have to fight so hard until I met Jesus about my worth and value, because from beginning people were telling me that I'm worthless. And honestly, like those thoughts were tormenting me, like, and I started to look for drugs that could literally numb me. I don't think like I ever want to kill myself per se,
Mhm.
but I thought if I don't wake up tomorrow, nobody cares anyway, and it's gonna be okay. I kind of submit to the fact that this is what's going on. But because I felt the world was hopeless, abandoned, and broken, and the booze and the rest of the stuff didn't work anymore, so I turned to heroin. So
Mhm.
for a few years, I was on heroin. Like I hardly remember anything, but one day I just felt this. Um, Now, as a Christian, I would say God called me, but that time I just have this profound awareness that people dying around me and going to jail, dying of overdose, of disease everywhere. And I felt like God saying to me, that time I didn't know that it was God, but He said that you were made for more. And I felt um like I started desperately looking for a change, but there's no dreams and hopes for people like me. I've been street junkie for a very long time. Then I met this lady, and honestly, guys, she was wealthy and compassionate and kind to me. People a long time didn't see a human like in
Right.
me. And the way she treated me, she brought me to her house. She offered me fancy coffee and sweets. And I was so impressed. And she was acting like loving and wonderful. So I felt safe. I literally like thought it's the opportunity to escape my life. And then she offered me a job, and there was no specific, just a job. And I was eager to escape, so I agreed without having any questions. Now, of course, I'm looking back, and there was so many red flags, but at that moment I thought, wow, somebody cares.
Right.
And I still was on heavy drugs. So how I went through customs, I'll never know. How, uh, yeah, but the plane ride, I hardly remember. I just woke up one morning hearing this Muslim prayer, Allahu Akbar, run out. So that nice, rich-looking lady actually sold me into human trafficking into foreign country.
Oh my gosh. I thought, okay, I thought at that point in the story it was you like your turning point into heaven, but holy shit, it it wow, like I got goosebumps as you're sharing your story before and thinking I can't imagine what you went through, and especially at 16 giving birth and had no idea that you were pregnant, living, you know not being able to get food and things like that, living up in the environment that you were living in, uh, and then it went from bad to worse. Holy cow! So okay, so what's I I'm almost like, okay, so what did this poor girl go through after that? Because I can't imagine anything worse than what you already went through. But human trafficking, wow.
Yes, so I end up in Egypt, in Cairo, and as any drug addict, that I would start thinking, where's my next dose gonna come from? Because people don't quit heroin only because they don't want it. If you go through withdrawals, most of the people do not survive if they do in cold turkey. And of course, there was no way, other way I would be quitting these drugs. And body just shuts down all the organ just because it cannot function without drugs. But I I survived. And that time, honestly, I was saying, "Oh, look at me. Like I survived this. I know 100%." Looking back, I was like walking by the edge of the knife, and that's not in my own power that I survive. It's grace of God. And because he told me that I was made for more and only like by his grace and for his glory. That's why I'm survived, because there were lots of people around me that didn't make it. So I was allured by my new surroundings, and they left me in the hotel for a few days because I was really sick. And then when they come back, end up there was two guys, and there I think it was five girls, all from my country. And we have a story that we are some kind of like school team, blah 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 blah, on excursion and all that stuff. So yeah, these two guys drove us around in Egypt, and we ate in these beautiful restaurants, and we experienced the culture. Then they brought us to this beautiful tourist destination, like literally look like Santorini, Greece, but all of the white buildings was like no the blue roofs. And I saw this like sunset on the Red Sea when all these buildings turn red. Like it was such an amazing experience. So I'm clean from drugs. I'm looking at this goodness of God. So grateful that I even like experienced this beauty, because I thought I'm gonna be dead million times over. So I'm like, oh my goodness, something good happening to me. They feed me, they dress me, like. And literally next day, our hotel was raided by the police because one of the guys was flagged for human trafficking. So they took us to the police station, took our fingerprints, took our passport, and start investigation, like send it to Interpol, all that stuff, and keep asking, why are you here? Implying that we've been trafficked, but we've been given that script, and we still have a visa for more than a week to be in the country. So legally they couldn't hold us. So they let us go with not and another guy too. But that guy, they arrested him. So that another guy took us to another mysterious destination, and now like we drove through the sand dunes for a few hours. And I think that's where I got already scared, because they drop us off in the middle of the desert. There was Bedouin tent with two huge, very scary Middle Eastern men. They were armed. They were didn't treat us well. The way they like took care of us, like we were like not people, and they forced us to walk in a dark, cold desert at night, and they forced us to crawl under the barbed wire to cross the border illegally into Israel. But because of the earlier police intervention, there was no one to receive us, so they forced us to crawl back. But the craziest part, like I could see the soldiers on this border tower, like they have guns. I could hear their language, and I was paralyzed because they have the, I don't know, they could shut, like killed us, like, or like gun down, because that's their job.
Right.
And Next day, actually, these guys forced us into the bed of the truck. So they put the spare tires on top of us, cover us with tarp, and we tried to cross the border again. And I saw again the soldiers and border patrol checkpoint, and they had like guns and all that stuff. But they searched the car, but they didn't look, because I know now that it's like well-oiled
Never paid off.
machine. That's why nobody bothers us when we crawl there under the barbed wire. And anyway, so when they brought us to Israel, there was already a truck. Jeep actually was waiting for us, and we were running, like jumping over the fences. They screaming, everybody pushing. There were mayhem, chaos. And I remember that time I actually heard God speaking to me. And again, you already get it, guys. I wasn't a Christian. I gave my life to Christ when I was 31. So that time I just hear this voice, like literally audible voice within me saying, stop and remember this, because one day you're gonna write a book about it. And I don't know why, like maybe fear of that clear thought in my brain. It was like almost like a command, but
Right.
was not a very mean. It just more like you need to soak this in. And I actually paused and I look around, and it was so bizarre. It was like movie. I never thought I gonna be part of this kind of movie. But of course somebody pushed me, shoved me like into the car, and they brought us into brothel, and they sold us into different brothels. And actually, then I find out it's very important what brothel you end up in, because the girls who came with me, they died, went missing, like, and nobody ever saw them again. So
Wow.
yeah, that's
So
the
how did you get out? Now, it's like you're right. It's like a movie. I want to know what happens next.
so
I
the
mean, I can't imagine, but
yeah, the craziest part, one of my bodyguard was Christian, and he started sharing the gospel with me. And one time um when my grandpa had a heart attack later on, he actually brought me to Jerusalem, pray at the Wailing Wall. So if you guys thinking like, oh, I am not the right person to share the gospel, oh, this is not the right place to do it. I don't know even this man like even know that that's what I'm doing now for living, glorifying God, that shining light that he passed on to me. And because I never saw anyone talking about God the way he did, and it's really make me curious. But when I pray at the Berlin Wall, literally I was overcome with the sense of shame, because I knew I was like prostitute, drug addict, alcoholic. I came from the brothel to what? Ask omnipotent God to interfere and save my grandpa life? Who do you think you are? It was such a like shame, guilt, and condemnation. And I knew that I don't deserve no mercy. I don't deserve this audience. I don't deserve to be here. But God answered my prayer. And honestly, that's what triggered me to leave, because I was so blown away that um, I was worthy that attention from God. And I was there for a while already, and almost 2 years. I pay all my debts, and they allowed me to leave. And I kid you not, guys, like you would never leave this kind of situation alive. Like,
right,
oh, like you have to be dead or rescued. But they
right.
allowed me to leave. So I saved up some money. I thought I'm gonna start a new life. I came back home, and my trustworthy aunt stole and spent all my money. And my other bodyguard, who was like a brother to me, cheated me out of all of my possessions. So I end up have nothing again. So I went on drugs again. Literally 3 days later, since like I came from Israel, I was on heroin again. And I ended up being right hand of number one drug dealer in my city. And I had unlimited amount of drugs, money, and influence. But it wasn't safe, because the cops was like on our tail, and I could be murdered for this drugs. So second time I quit cold turkey, and actually second time I sold myself into trafficking willingly because I just need to live. And my body was not precious to me. It was the commodity that I could use in exchange for the passage. So this time they brought me to Canada. They put me like on drugs, and um, because it's easy to control a junkie. So yeah, and then I actually in Canada here, they allowed me to go to school and learn English so I could communicate. But in school, I start hearing stuff about human rights. So when I was around 25, I find out that I have rights, and I run away, and I live in shelter, and I learned English from level zero. Then I actually went to government credit cosmetology course, and I finished it with probably 96%. So I become a hairstylist assistant, then hairstylist. Then I had like I was a hairstylist for 16 years, and I owned my business for two. And then God told me this is not the work you should be doing. And I work on my spiritual autobiography for 3 years, and that was my therapy with God to go and heal my past. And then He called me to speak, so I closed my business and I published my book and start sharing my story. But there's little bit like caveat in that story too. When I was doing co-op program right after finishing my cosmetology course, I met a boy, and he's like fall in love like crazy with me because I was like, well, crazy. Nothing like he ever met, because I say what I think, I do what I want. But
Yeah.
yeah, he ended up being a pastor's son. So he brought me
Of
back to
course.
church. And in 2011, I give my life to Christ, and since then it
Wow.
was like my path with Jesus. So now it's all about working for His kingdom, seeking healing, His grace, His love, and sharing my story for His glory. And I want to show people that it's possible to have joy, love, peace, and wholeness again after trauma, after everything that you went through, and it's possible to overcome adversity, but with God's help.
Right. 100%. Oh my gosh, like I was getting goosebumps as you're sharing your story. Glory bumps, Kimberly likes me to call them. And I'm just like, your story is like, what's next? What's next? Right? Like I can't believe I'm sitting before you here thinking, wow, this woman has survived so much hell. Like you said, like your title of your book, Miraculous for sure, from heaven, from hell to heaven. Absolutely incredible story of overcoming for sure. You're totally unstoppable. And and definitely, an overcomer. And I just have to say, now though, that none of that was your fault, right? Like from everything from your childhood and everything like that. And I get where you would feel that way at times, but I'm really glad that you stuck it out and that you're still here, because your story is so impactful and is going to help millions of people. And we're blessed to have you on the show to share it, because I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I had no idea. And the funny thing is, I met you a couple years ago at another event, and I think we talked about you coming on the show, and then with life happening, you know, I need to find a better follow-up system, definitely. But God had plans to reconnect us, so I'm glad that He did, because that is miraculous. Your story is
Yeah.
100% miraculous. And so, do you have children now?
I have three kids. Yes, my daughter is 16, and I have twins, boy and a girl. They are 11. So that's how that God works with me. And it's so cool that he's like he loves details, but he knows us personally. So he knew that I have to build my own business to see that my dreams so teeny tiny compared to his dreams for me. I
Right.
have to have like my first child, like without marriage, to thinking if I get man who loves me, a healthy child, clean home, full of fridge of food. If I learn how to be a housekeeper and have that, then I have peace, joy, and love. No, honestly, without God, being clean from drugs, have tons of trauma and PTSD, have a baby, doesn't know like what to do with that baby, have a husband who's like working 7 days a week to provide, like honestly fighting with imposter syndrome. Who do you think you are to be a mother and a wife after everything you've done? And literally like suffering that 4 years I suffer. I got everything I ever wanted because I thought that's when I can get that worth and value and peace, and I had none. It's tormented me. Like I do believe I live in hell those 4 years until I find Christ, and then I just give him the burden and start learning that I'm loved not because what I do, so but because of who he is and who I am to him. So that was a huge process. And now, like looking back, I love it. I love it the way he allowed me to try all this stuff and be, and like, and the past too. He healed the past, and we work together. And you know what? I still do therapies, counseling, and now this psychotherapist come to me as well, and she said, would you be open to create new neural pathways and heal your brain from your PTSD? Because God told me to create this pilot program for survivors of human trafficking. Yes, I'm in, because I was praying. I'm like, okay, God, what next? What next? Like, I need this healing. I want it all to the fullest. Uh, I want to live in freedom. So yeah, and he's there.
That's awesome. So I have to ask, since you married a preacher's son, what did you share your story with his parents at after a certain, like after the honeymoon phase of just meeting each other?
So very interesting, because I never thought we're gonna be serious, because I was like, I realized that in this country I can start a new life. So I was building the business. I was like building my empire. I was saying, I would never like thought that this boy coming into my life, especially I never would even date or dream about the family or anything. I was like money, building success, getting the trophies and medals and all these certificates with my name. Then I gonna get worth and value. That's why. So like he was not even on my radar. But when we met, I was like, I said to my friend, I'm like, it would be stupid to miss that up, or like miss this opportunity up, because now next year we're gonna be 20 years together with 3 kids and businesses and life together. So in that moment, like I do believe it's Holy Spirit too, because honestly, not lately, like before, like I was asking, like maybe 3 years ago, I'm like, you must be love me like crazy, because like you put up with so much. He's like, honey, lots of Holy Spirit, maybe 20% of love, 80% commitment. And I was blown away, because I thought, oh my goodness, he's so in love. He's like, no, I would never leave you, never leave the children. This is how I raised and all this stuff. So that's what like Holy Spirit hold us. But what was happening though, when he proposed to me, I actually wrote him 6-page letter and said, because I knew I'm not worthy to have a marriage and all that stuff. But he chose not to read it. And he said, you know what? I love you for who you are now. The rest of it between you and God. So when the like 15 years passed, I said to him, do you want to read the book or you want me to tell you? And he said, okay, tell me. So we left the city and we just like stood outside in such a beautiful place, when sometimes he drives there to contemplate of the life. So I just laid out on him so much more than it's made it to the book, because book we decide to do like in general for any ages. Of course, like not for 11-year-old, but my 13-year-old read it. But for other kids, I would say 15, 16, because they already know what human trafficking is and stuff like that. There's no gory details. I decide not to put anything like that, because I already suffered through that. I don't want anybody to have like triggers or anything. This is book of hope and salvation. It's my story of salvation, and I want to show God to people. But when I told him like so much more that make it to there. And he said 2 things. He said, number one, you've been healed. And number two, this book has a purpose. And I was grateful. I said to him, like, are you angry, at me? Are you angry that you didn't know this before? And he said, I actually not angry with you, but angry what's been done to you.
Mhm.
So, but very interesting though. I wish that he would read that letter 15 years ago because he would understand the trauma and extent of the trauma. So then he would not say, what, your mother didn't teach you how to sweep the floor? And kind of like make fun of me, like that I don't know how to do like household chores.
Right.
So that's kind of, and because of my pride that time was like so inflated, instead of say, no, kind of like my mother was like very terrible and lost and all that stuff. Instead of telling him truth, because I
Mhm.
was so afraid that he might leave or think that I don't deserve, like because he already said, yes, I'll take you. So kind of like I was never touch on that, but it was always the shadow. And that's what this book brought. When God called me to write this book, I thought it was about somebody else, but it was such a healing. This like all this darkness, all the shadows been healed, and now it's out, so it doesn't have a hold on me. Now I feel like I'm telling sometimes stories, especially if I do it in the women's group, and they blessed ladies, they crying for me, their heart just overwhelmed with compassion. And then I see myself in reflection somewhere, and then and literally that's how healing looks like. I do believe
Right.
that's what it is.
100%. And healing, I always say, is like an onion. It's like layer after layer after
Mm,
layer. And just when you think, I've got it all together, then somebody throws you a curveball and you're
yeah,
triggered, and then you have to, dig deeper because God's trying to get you right
yeah.
down to completely healed, right down to the diamond that He wants us to be, and and you're right. I can see marriage is wonderful, but then if there's communication issues or if there's like unworthiness issues, for myself, when I first met my husband, I had just like I had left a very bad relationship a couple years before that, and I had done a lot of healing before I met my husband. But still, there, like I said, the healing process. It was, yeah. I thought I was completely healed, but no. And so if you can't communicate to your spouse, hey, no, I really can't do that because my mother was a douchebag and never showed me anything. Like how do you say that? And not everybody has a wonderful childhood. I was truly blessed to have two amazing parents that loved us, but not everybody has that. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. Um, and just think of it this way: your husband's parents have one hell of a testimony to God in you. So,
You know what's cool though? When they met me, they weren't impressed. But now I understand because this is their baby son. He was number four, only one sister he has. He's totally now with the world because I don't really care about the marriage or anything like that, which is like totally opposite of their beliefs. I had different color hair. I was like hairstylist, and I have funky stuff. My tongue was pierced. Like I had piercing. I was smoking. And you know what's funny? Like not haha funny, but they embraced me. And they said when I got pregnant, we wasn't married, and my husband stood by me. He said, she's my family now. And I remember like it was like a funeral, everybody cry, everybody like it was so much discord. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting because back home we have like this what is that union like the marriage like where it's not the marriage, the people just live together, common law
oh,
stuff.
common law, common law,
Yes.
yeah.
So that I thought like it was normal. So I never thought like they're gonna be like reacting like that. But I remember his mom called me and she said, that's not how we do it in our life and in our family, but God has plan for you. And she just left it at that. And they loved me. They loved our baby. They loved my husband. They like pray for us like crazy. And then one day she goes, like, we were showing up to church for them. And then one day she said, "Oh, look, I got you dinner and a movie." And she sent us to have a dates. And she sent us to Alpha course in the church. And in the third day of Alpha course, I give my life to Christ.
I
And
love it.
because he was that missing piece that, like, and I already was seeking, and I knew, and she knew it, and it was so beautiful. And she um, recently passed away, and I had this privilege to actually like pray over her and pray for her. And she said to me, like, "Wow, God really changed you and changed your life." So now, seeing us being like for 20 years and the kids and all that stuff, and me Christian, and have that path, and like literally that could go completely different way, because one thing I knew, that he's very close with his family, and I would never want to break his heart not to be part of their family,
Right.
because he said, "I'm with her now." So I try my best. And you know what, for a bit, like in the beginning, like I really struggled with that, to fit in into their family, because they were a normal family and they were Christian family, and I have dinners like at 6, and they soft spoken and they kind, and they helpful, all the kids. And like when I saw like the dinner in the house, I'm like, what planet am I in? Like nobody's swearing, nobody's screaming, everybody talking like to each other. They have like, they like each other, have like all this common interest. Like it was so bizarre. And I'm like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And by the grace of God, now that's how my house is. Oh, and it was clean and cook and food, like homemade food. I said to my husband, if we ever get married, you have to stay at home. We have to have dinners at 6, and you have to like never swear at me and all this stuff. And he said yes. And all these years, that's why we're together, because he's honoring my boundaries and I honor his. So that's worked out very good.
That is so beautiful. Like seriously, I'm just like overjoyed for you. And like I knew, I think when we first met, you were in the process of writing the book. Because I remember something you
It,
talking
it
about it.
just it just been published. It's like literally like I was so newbie. And oh, and by the way, for those who listening, oh my goodness, guys, he's not perfect, okay? And I'm not perfect, because sometimes people listening and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't be safe if I have a man like that." No, you have to do your work with God, and then
Yes.
be healthy and good for yourself than for somebody else. Because honestly, in the beginning, when I was sharing this story, everybody think, "Oh my gosh, this man like is a saint." No, a saint. No, I did saw Jesus in him, the way he treated me. But oh my goodness, everybody have their own baggage they have to deal with. And
Right.
then we decide to get healed and get together and heal in the marriage. Because trust me, like when trauma meets trauma, like it cannot be thriving marriage. But we put our time and effort and money and commitment into like being with the children, being as a family, a husband and wife, and we're still working on that thriving marriage. But we do not give up, not surrender to the pain and trauma. And yeah, and that's what we decide to do.
It's funny. There is no perfect marriage. It's two imperfect people just deciding not to quit on each other.
That's a good
It's
thing.
getting up each day and saying, I choose you. I choose
Mhm.
you. And that's not to say that marriage is going to be perfect every day. That just means that you just don't give up on each other,
Mhm.
in my
That's
opinion.
really good.
I it's because I'm the same way. I came with a lot of baggage. My husband was divorced before he met me, and that has its own stuff. But then we complement each other. So where I'm his eyes, he's my ears. It's all good.
That's so
and
cool.
and yeah, I love it, and I love how you said that. Of course, God's going to put a preacher's kid in your path to help you
Like
with the rest of the
literally.
healing.
And it's so interesting, like how do he just like pluck me and put me right in the middle of the Christian family.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. And I'm so blessed that you were able to be there for your mother-in-law, when before she passed away too, because that is something that you'll always carry with you too.
And you know what's cool? Like when we met, like she was mentoring me and care for me. And there was a moment in our life, kind of we level up and we were sister in Christ. So that was like pretty cool.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. And for the anybody who's listening, like if your story is even remotely a little bit like Lena's, like there is hope for sure. Just keep pressing through like Lena has. You are a shining example, Lena, of a true unstoppable overcomer. And wow, like I'm in awe. I didn't know her whole story before she came on here, and I was just like, I am in awe. Like you just don't give up.
Yeah, no, honestly, and I think like that's what's so interesting. I just made the post not too long ago on my social media, kind of like letter to my future self, and just be grateful for my past. And I'm just so blown away how amazing, interesting, crazy, like resilient this life is. So after writing my book, because before writing my book, it was before Christ and after Christ, it's, and God showed me how faithful he was through all those times when I didn't die, how I call on him and he show up. It was such a amazing testimony of his faithfulness. But the coolest part that I've learned, I've grew, and like mature in this human being, that like in woman that he's building in like right now. So now after this process, I appreciate all of the life, from beginning to right now. And he using everything, like all my past, all my experiences, he built into now, like making me into intuitive coach. Like I can see and hear stuff that people not, because I have to do it because of the situation that I was in. And plus now with the proper training, with the proper, like being wife and a mother, and have a business and have like all the different ways that I can support women. Now he using this, he using that beauty from ashes, and then he give this beauty to somebody else. But first he fill me up so I serve from overflow, because when I was building my own empire, I was serving from empty. So I got burnout, my mental health, my physical health, everything went all over the place. But then God said, okay, how about working for the kingdom? And yes, I follow his path, and he goes, isn't this better? So yes, it is better. So I'm really excited what future holds.
I love that you said that. It's funny because I'm digging deep into allowing more. I mean, I've always had faith, but I think it's been more like a service level of faith, if I'm completely honest with myself. And faith in and out of situations. So when my dad was sick with his kidney disease and he was in the hospital, I knew without a doubt that he was coming home. Everybody's
Yeah.
like, he's not going to make it. And I'm like, no, he is going to make it and he's going to get out of here. And he did. And he was the only one that the
Wow.
renal, renal doctors knew of that have gone off dialysis without either a kidney transplant or being on dialysis for the rest of his life.
Wow.
And I knew that there was just some unshakable faith in
Mm.
me that's like, nope, this is it. And so I'm like, how can I apply that faith to every part of my being? And so now I'm diving deeper. So maybe that's why there's been a lot of things coming my way last week. But I just thinking of
That's
that, and I'm
awesome.
like, because everybody, we can all say we have faith when things
Mhm.
are going great, everything's awesome. But the true test is when things are in the crapper in our lives and we still manage to get through that, right? And to still surrender and say, nope, I know this is what it looks like. I have this thing inside my head that I say, this is not my reality. This is what's going on, but this is not my reality. My reality is that we live in a $2 million home not in this home that's falling apart. That is my reality. and so, yeah, so just stepping into that. And wow, I just love your story, Lena. And I can't, when I get up to your way, we're going to have to go out for coffee or something. Or if you come my way, let me know and I'll meet up with you. But I would love to meet you in person.
Absolutely. It sounds like fun.
Absolutely. We're the wild ones down here in Windsor. All right. Now I have the distinct pleasure of bringing Kimberly up to the stage. So Miss Kimberly, our roving reporter, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Kimberly.
Wow, what a show. What a show. Lena, there's so much happening, and it's for everybody who's watching. We don't know what date this is airing, so this particular show is pre-recorded, and Dorothy and I have joked about where God brought us together, right, and the intention that He brought us together inside of, and the fact that you're on this show during the month that I'm on the El Camino Trail. So when this show airs at some point in June, I will be on the El Camino with Jesus. And 100% completely and fully turned over to His calling, His love, His relationship. And I will have gone through all of the steps that He took me through over the last decade inside of having surrendered my life to Him, so that my husband and I could be a clearing for 90% tithing, living off of 10%, and being a testimony to what's possible in being at that kind of depth of a relationship with God. And for you to be on the show, like, like we were even joking before the show, like all the things that happened to have this show get recorded tonight, right? Audience, like, we love you. Like, what's there for me to say as I'm roving out and about on the El Camino Trail, for the benefit of all and for the benefit of God's kingdom, and to bring the glory to God, and for people to relate to Him newly. He's a he for me. It's just like, and then to have you inside of that space and time. I mean, come on, like, seriously, D? Because this is so, like, when Greg Bicknell was on, right? Like, every milestone of, like, God's clear and evident pathway for us is just, thank you, Lena. We're just, you embody everything Dorothy and I have been called to be on mission for. Everything, especially Power Couples United, like the power that Power Couples United can yield, right, for the good of humanity, is just, it's obscene, right? Like the like, love conquers all, right? Like, I mean, there's no richer love than a pure in love, right? And what's possible. And so every element of your story encompasses, and you're sharing tonight, and Dorothy, you're phenomenal hosting tonight, the rainbow of colors, and then some extras too. So thank you. On behalf of, myself, Dorothy, the audience, everything, like, where we're headed, where we're at, and where we're headed. It's been a heck of a ride, and get ready, because Santa's sleigh is about to catapult inside of this month, and all that's happening for all of us. So thank you, Lena, for being a huge contribution to that and what's possible.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad to be on your show, and thank you so much for inviting me. That was pretty cool. And yes, Dorothy, I love you as a host. You were fantastic.
Right? She's the bomb. Well, she's Canadian Oprah. Let's be very clear. Like we're very clear who she is. And Oprah is proud, Dorothy. Like I just channel that, right? She just wanted to let you know that she's proud. And hey, Oprah, if you're watching,
come on the show.
Let Dorothy know how proud of her you are. Okay. All right, Lena, with that in the background, we're very excited to hear your capital FUN, little DUH, capital MENTALS, your fundamentals. Please share those with us. We're very excited to hear them.
So for past 10 years or over 10 years, I was working on those fundamentals to see how can I put all the stuff that I'm learning and where I'm going into practice. And I come up with the 3 things that really help me and still help me to be built in the person that God wants me to be. So number 1, it's of course my faith and my trust in God, because that's what brought me my worth and value, because I'm not abandoned, broken, helpless, and hopeless. I'm a child of God. I'm a daughter of the King, So that's definitely, I belong, I'm loved. I have great future. So the second one, of course, it's the family. But with the family, we touched down a little bit about that too. It's actually health and wellness. You have to take care of your mental health, physical health, work on the marriage, work on yourself, like helping like the kids as well, work on their mental, physical health. Everything have to be like collectively as a family. I'm saying we need to learn and grow and progress to be better, but still be connected as well. So I actually have an amazing work-life balance when everybody have a spot and time, and who God, and then my husband, then me. I have like priority too. I take care of myself. I take care of this, and then I show up in the world differently. So it's very important, especially sometimes as a women or mom, like we want to give. You have to make sure you're full and spiritually, physically, and emotionally.
Yeah. Well, Lena, you said it during the show, and I just want to make sure to capture it again here. You always want to be feeding from the saucer, never the cup.
Yeah.
Always. Right. And it just doesn't work.
Well,
yeah,
I try.
I've 50 plus years doing it the other way. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Serving from empty, it's hurt not only you, it's hurt everyone around. And although we think that is the best to give, but if you're not full and serving overflow, it's burnout.
Well,
and it doesn't work good.
Correct. And we weren't designed to do it that way. And the reality is when we're serving from the saucer, there is a perpetual flow.
Yes.
And I'm clear that when I'm very clear, because part of my training the last 3 months before the El Camino has very much been an understanding that if I serve from the saucer, he'll up the faucet. In other words, right? If I have faith and I'm serving from that and I'm letting him feed me, I love what you pointed to. Like, by the way, Dee, I put that in there. Like, there is a perfect marriage. There actually is a recipe for a perfect marriage. It is the 3-corded marriage. And very much so to Lena's point, if you're not trying to get what you are to get from God, from your spouse, your marriage will be fine. Mm-hmm. That's where people trip up. Mm-hmm. They try to get from their spouse what they were designed to get from God. So similarly, when we serve from the saucer, then God is clear that our vessel is operating as intended, and he can actually turn up the faucet. So even more water is going into the cup, and then it's overflowing through the saucer, and it's perpetual. It not only does it get deeper, richer, thicker, clearer, it never stops flowing. It's ongoingly flowing. The reason it doesn't work the other way is as designed. We dry up because of lack of water, from the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, so that he can point to it and say, yeah, the way you're doing it doesn't work. I'll give you more water, but you got to go to the faucet and you got to let it go in the cup before it goes in the saucer, right?
And I love that he let me experience everything because I'm like a kid. I'll try it myself. I do it myself. He's like, okay, go ahead. And that's where that's where I bathe like in grace of God, because he's like, are you done? Okay.
Yeah. Have you exhausted that enough? Are you like
and it's funny, I thought about this, like when my kids misbehave, I give them consequences so they learn. But he's like, okay, you done, you're already in pain, let me bless you, let me take care of you, let me love you, let me give you path and the purpose and the passion, and you're gonna be healthy and you're gonna be strong and you're gonna be productive, and I gonna be feeling you with all that love, joy and peace. Because honestly, guys, that's like perfectly, Kim, you said that you're asking for from somebody else this validation, love and peace and joy. And I think that's what happened, like in my marriage. More and more I realized that God will love me and I love everybody else, because I'm not able to actually love the way that those people need to be loved. And I'm not talking only about the marriage. For example, my parents. I hated my parents for 20 years because I blamed them for everything that happened to me. Because what kind of parent are you, seeing that and say, yeah, take her, just don't bother me? What kind of man or father you are? But then I literally I led my father to Christ, because God said to me, I will love you, you will love him.
Amen.
And there you go. And that's how, and all, but he gave me that power. I go and say, how can I forgive? And guess what? I couldn't, because the burden and the pain and the like trauma and the like this wound was like so raw, and I was nurturing this pain because it helped me to live. I have to hate something, someone. And they were like that outlet, and God came and he healed and he said, I forgive you, you go forgive them. I love you, you go and love them. And guess what? When I forgive them and love them, you know who got free? Me. That burden of this heaviness of hate and this like rage about them and sadness and all this stuff, it just like was off me. And I led my father to Christ right before he passed away.
So beautiful. So beautiful, Lena. All right, with that, and look at Dorothy, how she just slided right into the forgiveness wave. So if you have that link, Dee, go ahead and put it up at your convenience. Lena, bring us home with fundamental number 3.
Absolutely. And then it's definitely trusting God for your work. So he gonna give you your path, your passion, your compassion. And I kid you not, I bet it's gonna be something that you're going through, because I do believe we're going through our struggles on purpose, so we have more compassion for people. So now that's what I love to help women, because I know how hard to be and being abused and being mother and being struggle with imposter syndrome. Like whatever you throw at me, I understand. And guess what? I don't judge. I will love on you through God's love, and I will now let you explore with non-judgmental atmosphere. And I believe this has happened only because I went through and I understand your pain. So whatever like you going through, there is reason. And sometimes it's so hard, especially like when you're still hurting. Just know there is hope. Just have faith. And when God will call you to share your story or go move somewhere, just trust him. Like trust and obey. Honestly, this is the best thing that I did when God called me to write that book. I cried for 3 days. I didn't even want to do it. Now, what, 3 years later or 4 years later, I'm like, invite me. Just tell me where to go. I'm speaking for an hour. Okay, let's do it. Just little by little, step by step, because 4 years ago wasn't like that. But I trust there was 5 minutes video, 1 hour video, then was like speaking engagement, all this stuff. But God got me ready for it little by little. He never throw you without preparation. You're gonna be ready, and you're gonna know that this is your path, this is your passion. And I kid you not, God knows better. If He closed the doors on you, that means this is not where you're supposed to go. When He leads you, there's no ceiling. Trust me, you're gonna have enough anytime, any wealth, any those balance, whatever. Like He gonna replenish everything if you gonna walk with Him and trust Him. And just honestly, He has a power, miraculous power to heal everything, to heal any wrongs to done to you and give you peace and your mind, body, and soul, and heal you. I kid you not. I'm a walking testimony. I have clean organs after like doing the drugs. I have healthy children, healthy mind. I have this love for this life and so much gratitude for this God who loves sinners. So if he loves me, he will love you for sure. So just give it a try. Just give it all to Jesus and then go from there.
That sounds like your main fundamental. Give it all to Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
Amen
it.
to that.
Right?
I like that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Lena, thank you again for those amazing fundamentals. It has been a true privilege to be with you tonight. Dorothy, back to you.
All right. So the forgiveness wave up here is part of Kimberly's El Camino trip. So if you'd like more information on that, just go to bit.ly/forgiveness wave and go check that out. And definitely, if you can support her in any way on her trip, that would be amazing. Where can people find your book?
My book is on Amazon.ca or Amazon.com. And when you searching, you have to put Lena Cebula Miraculous. So you would find the name. And it's book with a picture of jewelry on it. So it's God's metaphor that I'm precious and priceless. So you can go to my website as well. If you can get more information actually and about God and church and about human trafficking. There's tons of free resources. So if you want to check it out, it's lenacebula.ca. You actually can see that on the screen. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can connect with me, but there's lots of cool information and it's free. So take it, share it. Maybe it's gonna help you or help someone else to maybe like even save someone's life to know all this science and know what to do. So yeah, just go from there. Yeah.
Love it. Go check out Lena's website. And definitely, like she said, there's a lot of free resources on there. Go purchase her book. We would love for you to get back to us and say, hey, this book is so incredible. Couldn't put it down, because I'm sure that's exactly what people are going to be saying. Lena, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you to everybody that will be watching this. I just know that this will help so many people. And the ripple effect that this show will have on other people that have been in a similar situation as you, we will never know until we get back home. Who we're going to help from this. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your story. Absolutely beautiful. And we will have to get together in person for sure.
She can come to the golf outing, Dorothy. Everyone come to the August golf outing.
That's right. August 3rd at the Tilbury Golf Course. Message me for more details, and we will definitely get them to you. It is the Don Graham Memorial Classic. It's our third year. My dad passed away of cancer 3 years ago. Well, it'll be 3 years ago in September. And we have this fun outing to honor him and to raise money for cancer patients in the Chatham-Kent area that are, maybe some of their medications are not covered, or they're traveling or struggling financially anyway with cancer. So last year we raised $1,000. This year I'm praying to raise $10,000 or more. And so, yeah, so check us out. It's actually on my website as well, unstoppableovercomers.com. Go to the events page, and it's the first thing you see. So go check that out. We're also looking for sponsors too. So if you have a business and you want to get your name out there on one of the 18 holes, or you want to actually be a title sponsor, we're definitely looking for that for you as well. So thank you, Kimberly, for reminding me to say that. Yes, it is getting closer to the event, and there are prizes. There are cash prizes this year, but there's also other prizes. I've been very blessed to have vendors come out and say, hey, I would love to contribute. We're having some HVAC services. I have to get the name and number of the guy, and also some therapy sessions from Dr. Jay Royster. There's a couple of those to give out. So that's amazing. So we're always looking for more prizes too.
That's actually cool that you say. Now, like, I have some ideas. Maybe I will get some prizes for you too, guys.
Well, and Lena, get it on your calendar. That's the important thing.
Yes.
Get it at least penciled in on your calendar so you don't plan something else.
Perfect.
That's right. Because it's going to be fun. We are a wild,
You won't
crazy.
be sorry you went. That's for sure.
Kimberly comes all the way from Indiana.
This is anybody who's listening to this. Like, all are welcome.
That's right. We're having Florida in the house this year. From some friends from Florida are coming. The amazing Norm Bissell and Dr. Jay Royster will be there. So it's going to be an amazing event.
That's awesome.
I love it. Thank you so much. All right, guys, don't forget, be unstoppable in all that you do. Check us out on our Roku channel as well, Unstoppable Overcomers. And like we said, be unstoppable in all that you do, and same time.